Hello, my name is Kathy. I work at the Columbus Public Library, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about Email 101. Basically, you've gotten a computer. Maybe your son gave it to you or your grandchild. And they've set it up for you, and you sit there, you're looking at it, and you say, now what do I do? Well, here's one thing you can do with it. And yes, I know this is brand new to you, and you might not be familiar with it, but we're going to be talking, like I said, about email. Basically, email is short for electronic mail. It involves a message or messages being sent and received using the internet and a web-based email service. Now, there are also email services available through your cable company that you can get on the internet, such as Verizon or Comcast or AT&T Uverse, but we're not going to be covering those. We're just going to talk about web-based, internet-based email. We are going to do a video later on about email safety in the internet, but right now we're just going to concentrate on looking at the beginnings of email. So don't be nervous, have some fun, and if you have questions when we open up, which probably will be hopefully sometime soon, but if we do open up, there's going to be procedures that we have to follow. And it might be a while before we even get back to the Adult Services Department where I work. But if you do have questions when we open up and we're upstairs to answer them, you can call us at 706-243-2691. And myself or any of my coworkers will be happy to either answer the questions or set up a one-on-one to help you set up an email address. So, why use email? It's one of the fastest methods of getting a message delivered to somebody. It takes minutes instead of days. Now, you might not get an immediate response from the person, but you know that within a half hour you had typed up the message, sent it, and hopefully within the next day or two, the person has looked at their email and read that email and responded to you. It's personal. It's an excellent substitute for a telephone conversation. And just like when you're writing a letter, you can think through a response or your response to reply to the email and make any changes you want before sending it. An email can also avoid problems such as telephone tag or trying to figure out time zones. Say you live here in Georgia and your son or daughter lives in California. Well, you wouldn't have to sit and figure out, yeah, there's a 3-hour time difference. If it's 12 o'clock here, it would be 9 o'clock in California. They might be at work. Actually, it would be, 9 o'clock in California. So they might be at work, so you might not be able to call them. But then you won't have to wait till 11 o'clock at night when it would be 8 o'clock in California to call them. You can just shoot them an email and let them know what you want to tell them, and they can email you back. And you don't have to be online at the same time as the sender. It makes it easier to keep a record of what you sent. And I'll show you how you do that in a minute. And again, I'll show you in a minute, you can send the same message to one or more people at the same time. So if your son's in California and you have a daughter in Michigan and another son in Ohio, you can put their email addresses all in the same message and send them all the same message at the same time instead of making 3 different phone calls and trying to remember what you told one versus what you told the other one. Now, there are some problems with using email. Please don't let this stop you from using email. We will be discussing in a later video also some email safety tips. First of all, there's spam or junk mail. Just like snail mail, as it's called, regular mail, it's spam email is junk email. And it is as annoying an email as junk mail is in your mailbox. So think before you send a message to somebody, or think when you are online and you're shopping at a website such as Pueblo Traders Clothing or Amazon or Jockey or anything like that. If you don't want your email box cluttered up with junk mail from them, usually there's a box you can either check or uncheck that says you want to receive offers from them. If it's checked, uncheck it. If it's not checked, don't check it, because you will then receive emails until you're so tired of looking at them that you're ready to just dump your email account. Now, there are ways, it's called unsubscribing, and some companies are honest enough to do it, other companies are not. If that happens, you may have to block the email, and that's something you do through your email menu. An email can be misinterpreted because they arrive without tone or hand gestures. You know, when somebody talks to you, like me, this is the Italian in me, I like to make hand gestures. Also, my tone of voice will tell you whether I'm mad, happy, sad, lonely, or whatever. In an email, you don't have any of that tone. So this can lead to a misunderstanding, especially if the email is sent to more than one person. One person might understand it, another person might misinterpret it, what you're trying to say. Email messages can reach the wrong inbox. Double check your address before you hit send. And I have an example where my dad and some other gentlemen were on what's called a listserv for the Cleveland Browns, and somehow a young lady got a hold of the email for the listserv, and she thought she was emailing her friend about her hot date the night before, and no. Luckily, my dad and the other gentlemen were gentlemen, and they emailed her back and let her know her mistake before she was embarrassed. And you can hide behind an email. It's tempting to use email instead of facing an unpleasant situation when a misunderstanding arises. It's always best to face the person face to face if you need to. Don't use an email to hide behind. So, when should you avoid using an email? If you have a longer, complicated message, email should be short and to the point, because it can be difficult to effectively write down a complicated message in email format, especially one that can be understood. So, keep your emails short, keep it to the point. If you need to do anything that's longer than a paragraph, which is what an email should be, send a letter or make a telephone call. If you have questions which require a lot of clarification, say one of your relatives is in the hospital and you're trying to clarify with another relative why they're in the hospital, and they keep emailing you with, oh, it's this and this and this and this, and you just don't understand. This is when, and you're going back and forth with them. So in order to make sure you're understood, this is when more direct communication is best, like a letter or a phone call. Don't be embarrassed if you can't email somebody. Use the phone call. You want to have as direct communication and as much understanding as you need. And sometimes an email will not give you that. Just delivering indiscreet, sensitive, or private information or an angry exchange. You don't want to do that in an email. One, again, it could be misinterpreted. Two, any sensitive information, you could accidentally send it to the wrong email. Like, there are examples of people writing really bad things about their bosses, and they meant to send it to a coworker, and it reaches the boss. Or you write something about Aunt Jane, and you want to send it to your Uncle Don. Uh-oh, look at this. I accidentally sent it to Aunt Jane. There goes Aunt Jane off on a tangent. And any information which needs to be delivered in person should not be sent in an email. And this gets back to anything that needs clarification, anything that's longer than a paragraph. If you need to meet face-to-face with, say, you're buying a house, you don't want to do that through email. You want to meet face-to-face with the realtor to make sure you get the best deal. So anything which needs to be delivered in person should not be delivered in an email. Now, when you set up an email account, you'll be using what's called an email client, which is also known as your email provider. Most people, when they set up an email account, use what's called webmail. And there are a number of free email services or webmail services available on the internet. And among those, the most popular is Gmail, but there's also Outlook.com, which used to be Hotmail, Yahoo.com, Mail.com, Zoho Mail, Mozilla Thunderbird, AOL Mail, iCloud, and so many more. If you just Google email, free email services, you will get hundreds. Be careful. You don't want to set your account up with an email service that is kind of iffy. Read reviews on the internet before you set up an email account, or go with one of the more popular ones like Gmail, Outlook, AOL, Yahoo. When you set up, so you will set up your email. When you send an email, there's a specific structure to it. Your email address will consist of two distinct parts separated by an @ symbol. And the @ symbol is very easy to make. You just hit the Shift key and the 2 key together, and you'll get the @ symbol. The @ symbol, if you look at your 2 key on your number board above the letters, you'll see the @ symbol above the 2. The first part of the address is the mailbox name, which you create. The second part is the domain name, which is fixed depending on which mail service you use. It could be a .com or a .net, which means that they are businesses. Technically, the mailbox name is case sensitive, but this is seldom enforced, and so in practice, they're considered to be the same. Domain names are not case sensitive. And on the next slide, this is an example of what an email address structure looks like. This is your mailbox name, and it can be anything you want. It could be your dog's name, your grandmother's name, your mom's maiden name, your dad's name, your first initial, your middle initial, and your last name, whatever you want. Now, most people use Gmail because they like it. So say you want to use Gmail, so you would pick your mailbox name. It's also known as a username. Generally, it's known as a username, not a mailbox name. And this one is just John Smith. So with Gmail, when you pick a username, it's usually taken. And the nice thing about Gmail is when you put in John Smith, it says, oh, that name's already taken. And there'll be a question that says, check to see if this username is taken. You click on that. It will bring up some more usernames that you can choose from, like John Smith 456 or 1978. Now, this is the domain name. And the domain name is your webmail. So this would be John Smith, say, at gmail.com or yahoo.com, whatever email service they're using. And this .com, it stands for commercial or business, and mail services are considered a business. So they would be a .com or a .net, depending on when the email service was formed. Now, there are a number of default folders in your email. They include the inbox, which is the main location for your incoming email, sent items, and this contains copies of each email you have sent, trash, and this is the folder where deleted emails are stored. Usually or normally you would need to manually empty this folder to completely delete the emails off of your email account. You'll always get a warning asking if you want to permanently delete the trash. Now, the other thing about these webmail services is you usually only get so much storage. So if you see that your trash is getting above 100 deleted items, empty it. You don't want 5,000 items in your box, either your inbox or your trash. It gets very confusing to try to find something. There's another way of organizing your emails is to put them in what are called folders. And a folder is just what it sounds like. It's a way of organizing your emails or any document like you're putting them into a filing cabinet in alphabetical order in an 8x10 manila folder. Drafts, like I said, store a copy of your emails that you've created but have not sent yet. The nice thing about a draft is if you write an email and you know you're upset at something, you can close that email. It'll be saved in your draft box or draft folder, and you can set it aside. A few hours later or the next day, go back to it, reread it. If you want, you can make changes, or if you don't even want to send it, just delete it, and it goes into your trash folder. Always, if you are mad, a family member, a boss, and you write them an email, make it a draft and save it until you calm down and can reread what you've written. Many a person has regretted sending an email while they're mad. That's the one piece of advice I can give you, and I hope you take it. Now, this is what the default folders look like. Now, every account is different, and they'll have their default folders arranged differently, but this is the general way they'll look. You'll have your inbox, and it'll tell you the number of emails you have in it. Usually, if there's a highlighted color, blue, green, whatever, that's the number of emails that you have not read. You'll have your drafts, and this is where you'll save, not you will, but this will be where any emails that you have not sent are saved. This is what you'll open up if you want to get back to an email that has not been sent. This is your sent items. This is where you can double check if you think you sent something and somebody says, I didn't get it. It wasn't in my inbox. This is folder you'll click on right here. And this is usually this is another folder, but this is the recycle bin that usually is on your desktop. Usually though, it's a folder. Hold on 1 minute, I'm sorry. So when you want to get into any of these, you just double click on the folder. It will open up and you'll get a listing of what's in the folder. So if you double click on drafts, this supposedly has 5 drafts. It'll open up 5 drafts, and each one will be listed as to what you put in the subject line or who you're going to send it to. And when you're sending an email, you need to first create or compose an email message. When you click on the compose or compose message link, a new message form or window will open up. And when the message form opens up, the following fields will appear at the top of the message form. Now, every email client is similar, but there are some differences. For example, in Gmail, when you open up Gmail, at the top, there'll be a bar that says compose on the left-hand side. You'll click on that compose button and it will open up the email window. Now, if you follow the arrow down, this is what the email box looks like, the box where you'll put all the information where you need to send an email. So, for example, the to button, this is where the email address goes to whoever you're sending the email or whoever is receiving the email. At the top here, from, this will be your email address, or the email address of the sender. This is where if you have, say, johnsmith@gmail.com will go. Or this is Shireen@bainesconsulting.co.New Zealand. This is just a country domain. New Zealand is the country. This is, like I said, the to button right here. This line is where you'll put the email address in. that you want to send to. And you can put in a number of email addresses. This will be the semicolon will separate them. CC is just carbon copy. Anyone listed here will also get a copy of the email message. And BCC is a blind carbon copy. Anyone listed here will get a copy of the message, but the one who receives the message will not know that they got the message. Now, CC and BCC you will probably never use. That's mainly for business. And then your subject line here, this is just a very brief summary of the content of your message. So say you're emailing your son or daughter about the family reunion, you would put Smith Family Reunion 2020. That's all you need to put. Be just brief as possible, because you don't want to put a whole email message in the subject line. That will go in the email message box. So like I said, when you're done composing the email, you'll click the send button and the message will be sent to the email listed in the to button, in the to box. Not button, box, sorry. Like I said, every send button is different. Usually this is the Outlook box for email addresses and CC/BCC. And the send button is always to the left of these. The buttons, the from, to, CC/BCC button and subject. Some of the web-based, the send button is at the bottom of the page. It just depends. You have to look for it. And when you get ready to type your email, this is the window that will open up, and this is this white sheet, if you want to call it, because it's exactly like a piece of paper. This is where you'll type your message, and you can make it as long or as short as you want. But however, I would not do more than a paragraph. Anything longer, I would sit down and either write a letter or make a phone call. It will be easier to understand. All right. It's time to create your own email address. So what you'll do is you'll get to your desktop and you'll double click on the Chrome icon on your desktop. And this will open up Chrome. And your Chrome icon looks like this. However, some people call it Google Chrome. I call it Chrome because Google's the company that created it. There are other web browsers that you can use. This is what's called a web browser, Chrome. There's Firefox, there's Opera, there's Safari. You can use whatever the normal browser that you use to set up an email address. Now, I gave you Gmail. So up in the address bar, which is at the top of the page, or you type in the URL or address of Gmail. So it's just www.gmail.com, and this will open up the home page for Gmail. And when the page opens up, over in the right-hand corner, you'll have log in and sign up. You want to click on sign up, or it's create an account. I'm sorry. So you'll click on create account and just follow the instructions to set up your account. Now, like I said at the beginning, if you have any questions or you need any help, once we open up completely, please give us a call at 706-243-2691. We'll be happy to answer questions or set up a one-on-one session with you to help set up an email. Thank you for your time, and the next video we're going to be doing will be on email safety, and after that we'll be doing one on the internet.
We are springing into summer learning at the Chattahoochee Valley Libraries, and the program you just attended is one of the ways you can earn completions. Just go to cvlga.org and look for Spring into Summer Learning. You can register yourself and your family online, and then start reading and attending our online events. That's all you have to do. We're giving away weekly gift certificates, and every completion you make enters you into a grand prize drawing for tablets, games, gifts, and more. Remember, you have to register to win. cvlga.org, and we'll see you online again real soon.